welcome to Lead Live, reminding you of your personal genius and how you think in order to actualize what you desire. Welcome to Lead Live. Think about it. Wealth creation, wealth mindset, wealth building, wealth leadership, paradigm change, worldwide movement. The title of today's show is The Wealth Equation Given the Current Context. So what's the current context within the United States alone? It includes the fires across the Western region, protests that have been upwards of 40 million people for justice and police reform alone, political strife across the planet, coronavirus 2019 pandemic that has taken the lives of nearly 1 million documented, and with over 27 million cases. It has crippled or destroyed businesses and economies and impacted people's comfort levels, producing great uncertainties. Yet akin to a major hurricane, within its eye is calm, like perfect peace, a different kind of transformation. Yet that wall of the hurricane's eye is fierce. So while it seems counterintuitive, that's real. Just like access, growth, metamorphosis, and so much more that's happening now that adds value to life itself, our businesses, our individuals. Think about Zoom.us, a business that went from 20 million in January of this year to well over 200 million users. I'm also thinking about individuals who have altered the course of their lives, determined what people in businesses or industries need, and are providing products and services now in order to ensure that those needs are met. They too are thriving. So this session is on wealth leadership. And in a few moments, you're going to meet Dr. Martin Kwende, who has dedicated his life to promoting wealth around the world. He guides the success of people of diverse backgrounds. Some are now wealthy, creating a generational legacy of wealth as millionaires and multimillionaires. This gentleman understands that wealth is much more than finance. Indeed, it's so much more. That's our discussion with Dr. Martin, MBA, PhD, Executive Marketing Director of the World Financial Group. This gentleman is a visionary, entrepreneur, business owner, leaders of leaders, and a financial professional. He was in the medical device industry as an executive, spent over 20 years in the design and manufacturing of products that go into people. This gentleman has spent the last 6 years in the financial industry and has built a fast-growing business. He's a loving father, husband, lives in Silicon Valley. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce us all to this gentleman, Dr. Martin Kwende. Please join us.
Good morning, Dr. Webb. I'm excited to be here. How are you?
I am well, and we are so honored to have you. Thank you for being here. So I want to ask you to share something with our viewing audience and those who will see this broadcast later that we would not find on the internet, something that is compelling about you.
Okay, let's see. Actually, I'm pretty shy, right? But because of my background, people think that I would be one that is very open because I allow myself to open up. But by nature, I'm very quiet, right? If you met me at a party, you usually see me a little quiet when I choose to be, but I only speak when I need to speak. So I know it's probably not very compelling, but it means I only speak when I have to. But if I didn't have to, I usually would be very quiet, yeah.
Well, I think that's compelling, especially considering your accomplishments to date. There's assumptions made about those who are leaders and those who are making a difference in leadership. that they tend to be more bombastic and in front of spaces and taking over spaces. Whereas you, in your leadership role, you are clearly what I call humbly a servant leader. You literally put people up front. You facilitate their greatness and movement, even diffusing any attention that may be drawn to you. So is that the nature of who you are? If your wife were to describe you or a friend were to describe you, would they say that that's just the nature of who you are? Or did you decide to be that way?
Well, I believe that for me, I was put on this earth to make a difference for other people, right? And I believe that every time we meet each other, God made us to be a blessing to each other, right? So I know I bring something to the table, so I always want to make sure that I give whatever I was given to deliver. At the same time, do I always expect that I'm going to get my gift, right, from each person that I meet? So I intentionally have to give everything, put everything on the table. That way I feel like I deserve to get what I'm supposed to get. Because my gifts are not given to me. They give it to other people that I meet. But their gifts are also given to me. So I know you're a blessing to me, Dr. Webb. So I also bring you blessings. So that's kind of my mindset.
Beautiful. I just want to say that a number of people are online, and I hear an echo. Maybe you can turn the speaker down just a slight bit. Paula Fisco, San Francisco ID, Investment Development. Thank you for being here, Paula. Maria Jane, she says, welcome to us both. She's from home. And Tomoko Ha, who we know, Dr. Kwende, Dr. Webb, hello. Another hello from Corando Holmes too. Hey, Dr. Martin, the right guy. And then Robert Ropati, who also sends his hellos. I have no doubt that there's going to be a number of folks saying hello during this call. We may not be able to cover all of them, but we'll cover some of them. I want to ask you to define wealth, because in our conversations, you've made it very transparent, the power of wealth. And a lot of us think of only money when it comes to wealth, but true wealth, as defined by you, is what?
Well, for me, what I understand by wealth, it's actually 5 simple things, all right? We call it the 5 F's. Okay, it's your faith, your family, finances, fitness, and fun. Most people just focus on the finance, which kind of makes sense because that's kind of like the medium in which everything happens, right? But that's not wealth for me. It's all of those things together, right? But without finances, a lot of stuff doesn't happen. However, finances alone don't make you happy. They don't make you wealthy just by itself. It's 5 key things you have to have together. So your faith, your family, your finance, fitness, and then fun. We call it the 5 F's.
And so, why faith?
Why faith? Well, everything starts from faith, right? God created us, but for us to live our potential, we have to believe in something bigger than ourselves, right? So I believe that my faith has to come first, always. And faith doesn't necessarily mean believing in the God that I believe in, but everyone has to believe there's something bigger than themselves. So that's why faith is very important, I think.
What comes to mind, I remember years ago talking to someone about faith, and their whole perspective was, oh no, I don't believe in things like faith. I don't believe in that. You make it happen. It's not faith. And so I said, well, do you believe in gas that we use? And they said, well, of course. I said, but why? You can't see it, you can't touch it, you can't feel it. And if there wasn't a foul odor put into the gas, you wouldn't even know what faith is. You wouldn't know what gas was, right? You wouldn't believe in gas, but you believe in gas. So why can't you believe in something much more profound than just what you see and feel that allows you to experience faith?
Well, I really feel like, we cannot actually live life without having some kind of faith. Right? You have to believe. Faith is just believing in something that you haven't seen yet. So if I believe that tomorrow I'm going to be alive, right? That is there's gonna be a dawn tomorrow. That tonight there's gonna be sunset. Then I have faith because I haven't seen it yet. So I don't even understand how someone can say that they don't have faith when they believe that things are gonna happen the way they happen right now.
So everyone really has faith. It's a matter of what they have faith in.
Exactly. Exactly. There's no way you can be alive and not have faith if you really think about it. Faith is something that you haven't yet seen. So if I believe there's a tomorrow, then I have faith. How I say it is different, but I do have faith. Obviously, everyone does.
And so, why is faith in particular so integral to wealth?
Well, our existence has to be bigger than just where we are right now. And without faith, it's almost like we really don't exist, right? Because like this is it right here. If you don't have anticipation of something, of anything, then you're probably already dead if you think about it. We have to anticipate something happening. That's faith. If you have no faith, you have no anticipation of anything. Dr. White, can you imagine living life and having no anticipation of something better or something happening?
Absolutely not.
So we cannot, for me, I can't be alive without having some kind of faith, that's for sure.
Wow. Others who are here, Randolph Bell says, hey, hey, hey. Truly motivational. Good to hear from the renowned Dr. Martin Kwende, Lillian Muta. And I'm going to mispronounce this, so my apology. I think it's Fithotwit. Good to hear from Doc, the guy with gold heart. I want to go to a part of your heart, your family.
Yes.
You indicate family is important. So talk to us about how you live that. How is that part of your wealth creation for yourself? And how do you inspire that in the folks with whom you work and serve?
Yeah. So for me, family is everything. The truth is that I grew up, I never knew my father, right? And so I struggle a little bit about being a father to my 3 kids. My mother passed away when I was 16 years old in a car accident. So that kind of led me feeling like an orphan, which obviously I was. So I have always struggled about how to make sure that I live the best life or example for my kids, because I never actually knew that as a son to a father. Does that make sense? So I'm trying to put that to my kids. But also what I understand is most of us, when we start life, our dreams are our parents' dreams, right? They tell us what they think we should do. Make sense? For most of us, we never get away from that. Most people right now are not living their life. They're living their parents' dreams or trying to. That's why we struggle. So because I understand that, I want my kids to live the life that they want, right? With all my education, my wife is a registered nurse with a master's in nursing. I have a PhD, I have a bachelor's in physics, but I allow my kids to pick what they want. My oldest son wants to be a soccer player, right? He said he wants to win the World Cup for the US national team in soccer in 2026. So I said, great. So I put him in a program, right? And he's required to attend that program every day of the week. The reason why I had to get into business was no career at the level that I would allow me to take my son to soccer every day so he can live his dream. But because I own my own business and I control my time, that's the main reason why I did the business, so I can have total control of my time. So I take my son to soccer every day of the week that's required to. I travel with him wherever he needs to go so he can live his dream. So for me, that's why I do what I do, to give my kids the chance to do what they need to do. My second son loves soccer too, so we do the same. My daughter, by the way, the youngest one, says she wants to be a professional dancer. I'm like, awesome. I'm going to make the money so you can live your exact dream. That's how I think about fatherhood. But I've always struggled because I never had the experience of being fathered, right? So that's my main focus, why I'm very focused on family.
Awesome. And the role that your wife plays as a perfect complement.
Yes, my wife is amazing, right? So the truth is, she is absolutely, focused on family. But we ask ourselves as two professionals, why would you have a career, both of you, then you pay someone else to raise your kids? Does that even make sense? So I told her early on, I like for her, she was never working full time. As a registered nurse, she never worked full time at all because we wanted to dedicate time to the kids. So as soon as I started owning a business, I made her quit upfront. just so one of us is always there for the kids. So that way my kids experience some amazing things. They play like they were engaged in like 5 different things: karate, soccer, whatever, anything that they wanted to try. We let them try multiple things, and then that's how they kind of pick what they like.
Talk to us a little bit about fun, because that seems so counter to what a lot of people are doing who are building a business in order to be financially successful, and experience the kind of freedom that allows them to spend time with their family. It's like they're working all their lives to get there. Then they retire and their children are all grown. Talk to me about fun during that process.
Well, the truth is, at the end of the day, what is life without some fun in it, right? I personally, I love to see people happy. So I'm very community driven from that perspective. If I go to a party, normally I love partying. When I go to a party, I like dancing personally, right? But I like to see people happy. So normally when I go to the community and I see a party, I end up being a DJ because I look at the music not happening. I want to step in and make sure everyone's having fun, right? I believe in working hard and playing hard, right? Because that's the essence of life. We have to have some fun. Otherwise, it's like we're not really living. So for me, fun is key, but it only comes after hard work.
Well, I want to get back to fitness in a moment, but not right now. Right now, I want to highlight some of the comments, additional comments here. It's beautiful when you have two amazing leaders on the same page. Oh, thank you so much, Olive Baki. Thank you so much. Tomoko says, yes, faith is also about having a sense of purpose. And Veronica goes on, O'Brien says, powerful and deep message. Thank you for bringing so much value. Wendell Chen says Vision 2020 and Vision 2030. That's you're going to speak to that in a moment, I'm sure. And then Zerica Mitchell says, would you say that faith/belief mindset is building and visualizing wealth has a direct influence in how that wealth will manifest? If I believe I deserve wealth, does that set the foundation? Powerful questions.
Yes, I believe in the Bible, right? And it's kind of, even people call it nature or whatever, or the power of attraction. If you, I'm more about the Bible. So when Jesus said, you ask Jesus like, hey, will you come? Everyone that came to Jesus, he always asks you, what do you want me to do for you? And the Bible says that, it's going to be done to you according to your belief, according to your faith. So life works the same way. If you don't anticipate something, you're not going to get it. If you feel you deserve something and you ask for it, then you're going to get it, right? It says you have not because you ask not. So we can't expect stuff that we didn't anticipate to get. You can't just suddenly become wealthy. It has to be intentional, right? So I'm saying all the faith concept is what? Kind of anticipation. If you don't anticipate something, it's not really going to happen for you, because it's easy to miss stuff that you're not intentional about.
Let's go to the next question. What is meant by the wealth equation?
Okay, I'm an engineer by training, right? So I love when I see equations because it's easy for me to deal with that, right? So there's this guy called Steve Siebold, right? He's a writer, he's a speaker. He has this amazing books that he wrote. I study him quite a bit because he talks about mental toughness and how the top performers think, right? He's very much about mindset, and he wrote this basic equation. He says wealth equals opportunity plus mental toughness. Okay, so wealth equals opportunity plus mental toughness. And I thought about that for a second. I was like, okay. So my upbringing personally, and if I ask this to almost anyone, think about, Dr. Where you came from, what you've gone through to be where you are right now. Would you say that you're mentally tough?
Absolutely.
Exactly. So most people will probably say the same. That means, well, we are halfway to becoming wealthy, right? Based on the equation. But guess what? What is the opportunity that most of us have? Most of us strive from childhood to what? To have a job. I was told to go study, right? Get the most education so I can have a job. Okay, job. We call it journey of the broke in my business.
Hmm.
Dr. Webb, do you know any wealthy person that has a job?
You asked me this question before, and I told you I only knew one, and that person built his wealth and chose to get a job.
Right, that's different. That's they're just doing something they're passionate about, right? But because the job is not the right opportunity, most people, even though they have mental toughness, they've overcome a lot of adversity, never become wealthy because they have the wrong opportunity. So when I understood that correctly and I saw the equation, I said, okay, I need to find the right opportunity. So most people, if they just understood how to find the right opportunity, they can easily become wealthy because they're already mentally tough. But if you don't understand that, you spend your entire life with the wrong opportunity, you're going to still be broke.
Powerful. Powerful. I want people to sit with that a moment. Wealth equation is opportunity plus mental toughness.
That's according to Steve Seaborn, yes.
Mm-hmm. Steve Steelborn.
Seabold, yeah.
Seaboard. The name of the book?
It's 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Jane says, so true, Dr. Kwende. You sure practice that daily. Jerry says, I can listen to both of you all day. And then your wife says, my amazing husband, exclamation mark. The best any woman could ever ask for. God bless you. And then Tomoko writes, wow, you do get what you do not get what you do not expect. That's powerful. To achieve and get what you want, you need to purposely go get it and expect it. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Wendell, for putting down Stephen, Siebold.
Yes, Seabold, yes.
Or Siebold. I'm mispronouncing it still. Siebold. So let's go a little bit deeper. When we were talking, you mentioned that when you go after something and it's something big, it is your, I call it fantasy goal. It is really your dream. You're going to experience trouble. You're going to experience barriers. You're going to experience detractors. So you said, if you experience those things, know that you're on point. You're going in the right direction. Explain that, because most people think that's counterintuitive. No, I want to be comfortable getting to my greatness,
Yes, so
myself, etc.
yes, when I grew up, they told me that if you want to win in life, look at what everybody is doing, then do the exact opposite. Okay, if everybody's going left, then you go right, right? That's what you need to do to win, right? My point though is this: the only way we get mentally tough is to go through adversity, right? But adversity happens in two main ways. It can either be a storm or a roadblock, right? That's how adversity comes typically. So in my mind, the way I think about it is this way. If I have a roadblock, I consider that a redirection of my path. Because if I'm going the wrong way, boom, God is going to block it for me, so I'm going to redirect, right? However, if I have a storm, most of the storms clear my path. So either way, I'm going to win, right? If it's a storm, it's going to open my path. If it's a roadblock, it's going to redirect it. Either way, I'm going to win.
Wonderful. A question comes up. Do you have books?
Yes. I haven't written any book yet, but I will. But in terms of just reading books, we have a ton of information online, right? You have motivational videos. You can go on YouTube and search like almost anything, right? And you get a lot of very good information, but you have to be careful what you say. But we have a lot of books that, for building mental toughness, how like tons of books actually. I have like a whole slew of books sitting right here on my shelf that I do have to read because our wealth is going to grow as we personally grow.
Yeah, and there's a number of books that you exposed me to. You're going to send me a list, right? And what we
Yes.
do, we upload this to the website we'll make it a point to put on YouTube, Facebook, as well as on the elnoraweb.com website that's being redone now. It will have that list of books,
Right.
the podcast section. So we'll direct people to that. And then there's other statements. Mental toughness is the key. Love it. Your husband is inspiration. Tomoko sharing with your wife. And then she also indicates that so are you, the wife of Dr. Martine. What is her name? So we honor her.
Adeline.
Adeline. Beautiful
Yes.
name. Wonderful. So I want to go a little bit deeper. So you reminded me of the whole notion of thinking into results, deciding what one wants, and then just assuming that it already is there, and then working to ensure the manifestations, or that you travel the road to get to where one's riches already exist, or one's wealth already exists. Wealth, as you beautifully defined it. And so as part of that, you said, we're all like movie directors in our life.
Yes.
Can you just discuss that a little bit? Because I think that's a nice, transparent way to convey this.
Yeah, so that's very interesting. So my mother passed away in a car accident, right? So I'm in school, and then one of my cousins comes and he says, this is crazy. He says that, my older brother was paying for me in school. So he says your older brother was a medical doctor and your mom were in a car accident, and one of them passed away, but he didn't tell me which one.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking to myself, okay, if my older brother pays for me for school and my mom had to pass away, which of those two would I be okay? That actually went to my mind,
Mm-hmm.
and I told myself, ultimately it was my mom that actually passed away, right? And I told myself what I was like 1 month from writing my secondary school exit exam after 5 years of study. And I told myself, well, if I didn't excel, because I was expected to excel, people would understand what happened, right? But I also thought about this some more. I'm like, well, if I don't do very well and I'm talking about this story like I'm doing right now, it's not going to be that emotional anymore, right? So I told myself, I'm going to put myself 5 years ahead and then treat the moment I was in as if I was looking back. Then the question would be, what would I do so that I'll be happy to talk about it right now?
Mm.
So I decided to excel in my exams so I can talk about it right now. So based on that, I told myself, well, every one of us is like a movie director in our lives. Why? Dr. Webb, if they shoot a movie, it might take 3 years, right? But the movie itself only actually plays for like 2 or 3 hours. And they shot it for 1 to 2 years, right? That means not every scene in the movie is going to be shown in the final movie, correct? Or not every scene in the shoot. So in our lives, we have scenes all the time, right? When we check out of here, they're only going to probably talk about me at my funeral for maybe 1 or 2 hours. That's it. They're not going to say everything that I did when I was alive. Makes sense? But I have the power to decide what they talk about. If I have a scene in my life that I don't like, I have a chance to retake. Right? So I'm not going to kill myself. It's like, hey, I can delete that from my movie. So all of us in life have power to create the future that we want. But if you don't like something in your final movie, don't worry about it. Just delete it. Go retake. We just take it all together.
I love it.
That's the concept of being a movie director. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We are movie directors in our own lives, and we have the ability to retake any moment in that movie in order to get that final film or video or movie that's ideal.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. Let's go to some of the additional comments. And I don't want to, oh, Jane says Queen Adeline. And Corando Holmes, the second, it says, Dr. Martin, most importantly, has always been a man of his word. That's why I have the utmost respect for him. And then Fifth Wit says, behind every strong man stands powerful woman or African queen. Adeline. And then Jerry writes, very inspirational. The world needs more great leaders like you, like the both of you. Thank you for sharing your brilliance with us. And Olive, Dr. Kwende and his beautiful wife are both a great example of married couple in our industry. And then Wendell writes, this is awesome. Let's see more of this on Facebook. How open-minded do people need to be to build wealth for their family and community? Let's deal with that question. That's a powerful question.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we are responsible for what we keep behind, right? I did not come from wealth, so wealth has to come from me. I know when I talk to some people, they go like, well, my parents didn't give me anything, so I want my kids to get their own way. I'm like, are you serious? I have to give my kids a stepping stone. If my kids have to start from where I started, then my family is not making progress. So the concept of people saying, I want my kids to struggle, of course they're going to struggle. Dr. Webb, I would rather have my kids struggle to erect a skyscraper downtown than to go worry about borrowing money from the bank to buy a house. They're going to struggle all the same, but it's a different struggle, right? So when I have parents say, well, I want my kids to suffer, they're going to suffer, they're going to have to go through adversity, but it has to be a different kind, which means we're making progress, right? So this is why for me, building wealth, it's part of making life what it's supposed to be. I mean, every individual has to have a chance of expressing their faith, having some hope, right? Every individual has to have the opportunity to take care of their family the way they want. They need to have some resources to do that. You deserve to have some fun, and you deserve to be healthy. That's what wealth is about.
So your response to that question, you don't need me to paraphrase it, but I want to emphasize it. And that is that we're responsible for our families. We're responsible for our communities. And when we operate from a standpoint of abundance, and we know that there's enough for everyone, literally, not figuratively, and not we don't hope it, and it's not a kumbaya moment. It's real. And that part of I know your thinking is, and I'm going to take it to a different level, is that once we decide, the universe just transforms itself to meet our decision, be it good or indifferent. And so understanding our power is much more than just simply saying, oh, I have power, and then I get up on the different side of the bed instead of the previous side of the bed. No, it's really profound. Understanding that the conditions that we're experiencing right now are not out there, they're within. And we get to change the conditions on the outside by changing the conditions internally, right?
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And one of the things that, I read the Bible all the time. It says that a man who cannot take care of his family is worse than a sinner, right? Growing up, there's this notion of individual success and community failure. So if I excel at my job, in my career, but everyone else around me doesn't do very well, then people think that's okay. But the truth is that I cannot enjoy my success with everybody around me a failure, right? So that's why personally I'm very involved in community wealth building. I actually joke with some of my friends, right? And I tell them this is kind of funny, but it's not funny. I said, I'm helping you learn about wealth building, and you're not interested right now, and it's perfectly cool. However, in the future, when your kids want to marry mine, then we're going to have a problem. But for now, we're good. Okay. But later on, if your kids.
There's a few questions. First, I want to honor Paul, who writes, wonderful insight, sir, very clever. And speak to that. Do you consider it to be clever? Because I think I know the essence of what he means, but speak to that word, clever.
When I was young, right, I used to excel in school. So then they say, oh, you're very smart. I'm like, I don't get it. You tell me something, and then I repeat it, and then you tell me that I'm smart. How would that be? That's how I used to say it, right? I need to be creative. I have to make something happen that is not there, right? So that's why for me, I believe I have a gift of vision of seeing things that most people don't see. So the same thing happens. I read into it what most people don't see. That's a gift that I think I have. From that, yes, I'll agree. But just being clever, I mean, it's like the way that we measure cleverness as a society is kind of very limiting. You tell me to mix two chemicals in chemistry, so I do. So I recall what it's going to give me. Then I say it back to you, then I'm smart. I don't get that concept. But if I'm able to think things through and actually create something that doesn't exist, then yes, that can be considered smart.
And that is part of the essence of leadership, is recognizing our ability to create. And literally at the essence of who we are is creation.
Yes.
We're a part of creation and we're integral to everything that we be. I'll use that language. We be is creation.
Yes.
We think and then we build. We think and then we create. We think and then we experience the manifestation. Everything starts with that first step of creation, of imagination, of visioning, right? Gets back to Zerika's initial question. We got to have a clarity about where to go. There's a question here. Why do most people do not choose to study about wealth? The information is available, yet so few take the opportunity.
It's a lot easier to do what we're told to do because that's how we brought up. Right? So I believe that the system is set up so that when you're not aware, then someone can take advantage of you. This is why I ask most people, hey, if you drive a car, you have a driver's license, did you just start driving or do you have to learn to drive? We all learn to drive, right? And then we take a test, so we have a license to drive. So we know the rules to driving. But guess what? We all use money the same way, right? But they never teach it in school. So how do we use money correctly when we don't even know how it works? But in my understanding, it's kind of intentional because this is the point. If we don't know how to use money, the few people that know how to use money is going to control the rest of us. That's why I'm very big about trying to educate people about money, because once you understand that, then you have power. Okay? I know we have all these protests and so on, George Floyd and so on. People go out and they protest and it's great. The truth is that you can scream all you want. If you don't have money, your scream has no voice. You need to have influence. And one of my mentors told me that money can buy influence. Right? You think about that political system. I usually talk about something called the 5 F's. So growing up, the 5 fingers, they told me that if you think about like growing up, they said I could do something like science, engineering, medicine, politics, and then money. That's kind of in general what they told me. And they also told me that if I consider myself clever or smart, I'll probably end up doing what? Science, engineering, or medicine, which is typically in society what tends to happen. So then I started questioning myself, if the smartest people do science, engineering, and medicine, who's left to do politics and money then? Don't get me wrong, I call them the not so smart ones, okay? However, doesn't money control everything? Money controls politics, and then politics controls everything else. So I decided that for me to have influence, I have to quit science, engineering, and medicine and do money. That's what I do for the last 6 years full time. Why? Because if I can create a community of people that control money, then we're going to have influence and we can create a society that we want. If you give money to a bad person, they're going to amplify bad, okay? But if you give money to a good person, they're going to amplify good. So if more good people have money, the society will be a lot better than it is right now.
Powerful. Another question, Dr. Martin, you believe we are at a time, or do you believe we're at a time in humanity when we need to move from capitalistic society with shareholders to a more shareholder economy? I think stakeholder economy, so that there is a distribution of wealth for all. So from shareholder to stakeholder.
When anybody talks about distributing wealth, I don't subscribe to that concept because that means people are getting stuff that they don't deserve to have. Makes sense. It has to be an equitable society, which means everybody has the chance to become wealthy. but you cannot distribute. You hear what I'm saying? We have to give people the chance to become wealthy. Not everyone wants to be money wealthy, right? And it's perfectly okay. But they need to have a chance to decide that. So my point is, if we don't educate people about money, how do they get a chance to decide whether they want it or not?
And so the question is, I'm going to take Shamini's question and go a little bit further. So if we just leave shareholder and stakeholder to the side, those words, those terms, and say, how do you create a society where there's equity when the system was built to ensure inequities?
That's really my challenge, right? We have to create an equitable society, not an equal society, right? So that means everyone needs to be given a shot. That's it. Because otherwise, we'll be forcing people to do stuff. I can't distribute wealth to someone that doesn't want it. If I tell someone that, hey, you can put your money in the bank and they make 10% and they give you 0.1, or you have the chance to put it and you get the 10%, and they tell me, hey, I'd rather get 0.1, it's perfectly cool. At least they know they have the option. But I can't force them to get 10%. You hear what I'm saying? So it's about just giving people the chance to know what's available. That's it.
I'm going to take you and go even deeper. So let's say that there's a whole class of individuals, and there are in this country, in the U.S. alone, let alone many other parts of the world, who are economically poor. And I'm just not talking about one group or another. I'm talking about across the board in terms of ethnicity, in terms of age, in terms of gender. I'm talking about whites. I'm talking about Asians. I'm talking about blacks. I'm talking about Latinos, Native Americans, Pacific Islanders. And there's a legacy, depending upon where you're at, in the Appalachian Mountains or in the Deep South or in a urban setting throughout this country, where people have been pigeonholed through financial instruments, through legal policies historically into certain communities. And so they built this wall, they meaning those of us who no longer live, that ensured this kind of trajectory. So how do individuals who have this historical legacy break out of it? And I'm going to put something front and center. As someone who studied Ogbu, who was at UC Berkeley, who did a lot of research, Dr. Ogbu, on immigrants who would come to the country and compare the immigrants, didn't matter what their ethnic group was, compared to the natives. And immigrants outperform the natives. And I know you've probably heard that as someone who comes from the beautiful continent of Africa, although you've been in the Western Hemisphere for many, many, many years. And you're doing extremely well. So I don't want people to kind of discount you because you're an immigrant and you fall in that category of the immigrants tend to do well because their perspective is qualitatively different. Well, you had hardships too. And many of the folks you're working with to help them reach that millionaire and beyond mark have come from this country. So I want people to understand that these seminal beliefs are not just temporary and working for some people, they work for all. So how do you cut through all that and ensure that there's enough resources so that people have at least a platform, a foundation to build themselves up, to leverage what you're talking about? I know that's a lot to put on you, but I'm pushing.
Dr. Webb, that's actually pretty simple for me to answer in this way. It really starts in the mind, which everyone has one of, right? Wealth building is way easier than they want to make us to think, if you ask me. It really boils down to what we call leverage. That word right there, if anyone is listening to me, write it down, leverage. If you understand that word, your life will change. And I'll tell you why. Now, I only think about it in two ways. The first one is there are two things that you can leverage in life. One is money that most people don't have enough of. So you go to the bank, people that have money can control a lot of stuff because they already have money, right? But the other one is called time. Now, Dr. Webb, how many hours do you have in a day?
Well, at the very least, 24.
Good. How many do I have?
At the very least, 24.
How many hours does Mark Zuckerberg have?
24.
So how come he's a multi-billionaire, you and I are not?
It's how we use this time.
Exactly. It's leverage.
Mm-hmm.
So he leveraged other people's money to create a business, and he leveraged other people's time
Mm-hmm.
to create wealth. That's what he did. All of us have the brains to do that. We just necessarily don't have the platform or the knowledge to even think about it that way.
Mm-hmm.
What I love about WFG, the business that I do, is what it gives me a platform to leverage those two things for free, more or less.
Yeah.
Right? And the other thing is what leverage, when you think about it, I say that in life there are two rooms, okay? Just in general, right? There's a room called employees and self-employed who trade their limited 24 hours for money. And then there's a room on the right called business owners who trade other people's time for money. And there are people like uh, uh, Warren Buffett who trades money for money. Those are the two rooms in life. There's a left room for employees and self-employed, and there's a right room for business owners and investors. Correct? Now,
Mm-hmm.
this is
Correct.
the problem, though. In life, out of 100 people, if you say there are 100 people and $100 for wealth, if everything were equal, everyone should have $1. But in the real world, 95 of them will be in the room where it says what employees and self-employed, where they're trading their 24 hours of money, and only 5 will be in the right room. Now, what's the problem? Those 95 people only have what? $5 of wealth out of $100. Which means what? If you do the math, $5 divided, imagine that you're in a room with 94 other people with a
Mm-hmm.
job, right? And they divide everyone equal. $5 divided by 95 people. I did the math, 5.2 cents. You broke. I used to be in that room my entire life, okay? My bachelor's degree, my PhD, my MBA, my years of working experience could not change that. In fact, with my education, for example, I was basically probably given 10 cents, right? So instead of everyone getting 5, I get 10. That means what? Someone in that room gets like 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still broke. And no amount of education experience will get me out of that room. The only way that I had a shot was to move out of the room into a room with 5 people. That's it. Those 5 people have $95. If we understand how to move ourselves from the wrong room to the right room, game over. That's all that we do.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. My takeaway is I am now empowered to unashamedly do retakes and manifest well. Absolutely visionary. Dr. Kwende, I love your commitment to the community. Would you talk about the concept of chasing thank you? Because we love seeing people win.
Yeah, Dr. Webb, that's kind of interesting. I told myself that every day, my only focus is to get as many thank yous as possible, right? I can't get a thank you for not doing something good. Make sense? So it
Yes.
forces me to do good by
Mm,
just wanting thank yous. That's all. Every day
mm.
I want somebody to tell me thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. But I have to do something good to get that. So that's my focus in life. Every day I'm going to get as many thank yous as possible.
Excellent. And then Frank does this. And then again, Tomoko says, I love it. If more people, good people, have money, they amplify good. More good can come around the world to live in a society we choose for good. And then Maria goes, how can we help others to see this concept?
Well, frankly speaking, Dr. Webb, I think a show like this, right,
Mhm.
is probably where we start. And we all have to take personal responsibility to fix it, right? We live in a society where everything is driven by interest,
Mhm.
right? So if you think about it, um, the insurance industry, for example, like auto insurance, when people used to, not wear seatbelt, right? There were a lot of accidents. So guess what? They paid out a lot of money. So what did they do? They went to Congress and lobbied to make wearing seatbelt a law, right? So
Yes.
guess what? You and I have to wear seatbelts right now. So what happens? They don't pay money anymore. So everything is driven by interest. So if you want to make something happen, you have to create an interest for someone to want to do it.
Yes.
If I'm interested in making a community happen where my kids have a shot are living a better life. Where if they marry, they marry people that have the same mindset and are going in the same direction. I have to help to create that environment. I can't wish that is going to happen. I can't just hope that is going to happen.
Maria goes on to say leverage, reminding us of your use of that word. And then corporate family will not provide wealth or family time, or corporate America, excuse me, will not provide wealth or family time, exclamation mark. Jerry, do you want to speak to that? Or you want
Yes.
that to on its own?
Okay. We have to understand, I already said everything is based on interest, right? Mm-hmm. What does corporate America want? What does any company get in business for? To make money. Mm-hmm. We cannot fault someone for doing what they said they were going to do. Mm-hmm. It's like putting your money in the bank and hoping that they're going to make money for you. That's not what banks exist for. Mm-hmm. So my point is, well, we have to take personal responsibility. My future is not dependent on the corporation because that's not what I'm in business for. Mm-hmm. I'm in business for me, so I have to make sure that I win. That means what I have to give myself an edge by being educated correctly and understanding what's going on so I can leverage the best way that I can. Sometimes we have to leverage the corporate America to create a foundation. So we do that, we have a job, right? But just being in that environment, the focus of the corporation is not to make you and I wealthy. We have to understand that too. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I cannot fault an entity or an individual for working for their selfish interests. That's how it's supposed to be. But the point is challenging in this way. I know that by myself, I cannot become wealthy, right? I need some kind of leverage. The challenge that most people have is what they focus on what they want, but the only way that I can attract someone to help me get what I want is to help them. So I say vision is what I do for others so I can attract them to do for me what I want, right? You can't get something for nothing. I have to give something to get something, but I understand that. So I do what I do for others so they do for me.
Speak, Doc. Is it written here, speech, Doc? Thank you. If only our community could hear you and take advantage of this. And as your wife writes, and here's the good news. The community will have an opportunity to see at least this particular presentation. And ideally, we'll be able to welcome you back, Dr. Martin, to share more, to go deeper. How does that sound?
Absolutely. I love that. By the way, Dr. I really, really appreciate you putting me on this platform, right? All that I ever want, frankly, I feel like I was very blessed and had a very good career, right? I got a PhD at the age of 25. I had a job right away out of college, and I worked my way into Silicon Valley to the top in senior management. But I truly didn't feel that God put me here just to have a good life. I felt I needed to do for others, right? So that's why I quit my career and I wanted to make a difference. So the truth is that for me right now, I have a vision that is very simple. So number one, I have to create $1 trillion of wealth to add into our community right now. That's my goal, right? That's the first thing. Secondly, because I was born in Africa, I have a plan to go there by 2030. I'm going to help 10% of 1.3 billion people become financially free by learning the concepts of money and leveraging, okay, the system, okay? And number three, I want to create 1 million financial outlets, individuals that can actually be able to what? Actuate themselves and create wealth for others. Those are three things that is my vision. The bottom line is this, because the Bible said that where there's no vision, the people are going to perish. That vision I share every day, I guarantee is going to happen. That's what the Bible says. Where there's no vision, they perish. Now, where there's a vision, they cannot perish. The question I ask anyone that's listening to me right now is this. They're going to make books about that vision. They're going to make movies about it. My question is simple. Would you rather just read about my vision or be a part of it?
Well, I and my colleagues will be a part of it. Or actually, let's restate that. We are already a part of it.
Absolutely.
So, and Jerry says, I share it with all my social media and hope you both do more shows together, exclamation mark. Let's create a movement for financial freedom and break the generational mindset installed in all of us. That makes me think about the statements that some of us grew up with. Money doesn't grow on trees. People who are wealthy must be engaged in some nefarious activities, or, I mean, there's all these negative statements out there. And why do you think we hold on to those statements that ultimately affects our own trajectory?
I think it's really kind of in a way designed to get people not to focus on the right stuff, right? The mindset about, if you think about corporate America, the reason why you have a patent and it's protected is so nobody can copy you, right? So people always want you not to do what they do. That's how they differentiate themselves. In my business, I have no trade secret. Everything that I know, I share. When I make money, I share everything that I make so people know what's possible. In a corporate world, you hire 2 people, exact same experience, they pay differently based on how they negotiate. So they ask you to hide your salary so they don't know. That's how the normal world operates. My world right now is different, right? So if you follow the regular system, it's set up for the benefit of who set it up. But if you want to win, you have to change how you think and how you see the environment. You can let it work for you, or you let it work you.
Let it work for you or let it work you.
Yeah. Either way, something's going to happen.
Vision 2030. Be ready, Africa. Wonderful invitation to share your vision. Let's all sign up today. The system is set up to encourage behaviors that make you broke. Financial literacy is key to your success. Those are all additional statements, and I'm sure there's more that will be coming in. I want to thank you because you gave us a rich set of insights, messages, stories. Stories are powerful, and you tell them well. And my hope is that you didn't do just inspire people. I think you certainly have done more than inspire me, that you have equipped people with some tools to remember that what we think, and that thinking is not just in the brain, it's in the heart. It's that heart-mind connection. That subconscious mind is most powerful. The conscious mind is where we get to switch and change and inform the subconscious mind. That's a whole nother conversation that when we bring you back, we may ask you to talk about. I want you to remember, as viewers, as individuals who are leading in your own way, who have your own faith, to recognize, and we'll come back to fitness in another show, because I think that's very powerful for so many reasons, because its effect on the entire ecosystem of the body. I want us to remember the power of mindset, that we get to choose. That's one of our gifts as human beings. We get to choose. We get to choose the values that we have, whether they're the ones our parents have or the elders who were around us when we were growing up. We get to choose the vision that we set. We get to choose the folks with whom we interact with. Choose what works for you. Choose wisely. Invest in reading substantive text. And again, we'll make certain that when we upload the YouTube, Facebook, and my Signature Solutions corporate results website, along with the elnoraweb.com, which has not been updated yet, we'll place those resources there. Dr. Martin Kwende, it's been an absolute joy to have you on. And I am so honored to know you, be exposed to you by 2 remarkable individuals, Olive and Tomoko. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Webb. I really appreciate the opportunity to meet with you, and I'm excited about the future that we can build together. So thank you so much for having me on your platform. I really appreciate that very much. It's
an absolute honor. And so as we transition out, I just want to highlight on the screen some additional comments. And thank you for your service, Dr. Martin and Adeline Kwende. then everything we have to know is in books, and we do not like to read, as your wife says. But increasingly, more of us do. And so let's make that fun. Let's go out and read some books about success and finance and be empowered. Uh, Thank you, Dr. Webb. Oh, thank you, Jane. Powerful talk. Thank you both. And thank you both for sharing this space and time with all of us. It is our honor. Thank you, Christian Dior Ramo. I am so pleased, and I have on this call at least two, if not more, nieces and nephews. And so I am very honored that they get to hear you as well. And then we've got a host of other professionals, local and beyond, including in other countries. So thank you all for tuning in, and most importantly, for making a transformative difference in your own life so that you can impact your families and the greater community in more profound ways. And without further ado, thank you again, Dr. Kwende. And I want to ask you, as viewing audience, just be tuned, stay tuned. Next week, we have another couple of remarkable individuals, and I'm going to ask Jet to bring them up on the screen. These individuals are Doctors Ed Bush and Derek Smith. They're both educators, educational leaders. One is a president of a college, the other is a professor at a local university. And these individuals are making a difference. They are called on often to present to small and very large audiences across the US, and we get to have them in our studio next week. So join us for Grounded Leadership, another very compelling and interesting conversation by two additional remarkable leaders. Wado.
Thank you.
Thank you.